Once upon a time, not so long ago, there was a little girl, and her name was Emily. And she read a blog. There it is. It was rather a usual blog because it didn't write anything. You see, everything in that blog's page was a link that somebody had once posted and Emily had found and mailed on to Bouncy. Emily's cat, Bouncy. The most important, the most beautiful, the most magical, saggy old internet troll in the whole wide world. Well now, one day Emily found a link, and she brought it back to the blog, and she mailed it to Bouncy, who was asleep in his pants as usual. But then Emily said some magic words. Bouncy, dear Bouncy, old fat furry noncy, wake up and look at this link that I bring. Wake up, be bright, spout venom and shite. Bouncy, oh hear what I sing.
Yes, indeed. And hello, it is the 16th of May 2012. I am, as always, Bouncy Ball, and this is, as always, Lolacost in your lug holes, although it is episode 5, which it isn't always, obviously. That would just be this one. And we were going to open the show with Leonard Cohen's amazing song, The Future, but it disappeared up its own arse in the upload process, so you'll just have to pretend that I did play it. If anything, it's probably saved us 4 minutes of airtime because I'd have walked around the room dancing to it. So, The Future. We did Back to the Future last week. I figured we hadn't actually been to the future to go back to it in the first place, which they didn't do in the film either, but it kind of did in the... Anyways, so what are we going to be talking about? Well, to start off with, we're going to be talking about something that was kind of ties in with what happened on the Games Cast last night. If you were listening to that, they were talking about the risks of non-second-hand games being available in retail outlets and stores and what sort of impact that would have. Now, obviously, the short answer is it would kill 99% of stores almost instantaneously. It would sever a generation from kind of being able to enjoy their products retrospectively. I mean, that's an issue anyway, given the fact that we're looking at servers and updates and downloads and knackered hardware and bits and pieces like that. Excuse me. So I got my kind of thinking hat on, and I thought, actually, it can't be all that bad. There must be some way out in which you could still be able to go to the high street in a digital age, go into a store, and still have the experience of a game store, even if the consoles are digital only, don't accept second-hand stuff, whatever. The rumours go, obviously, you may have heard that the new Xbox isn't going to have a disc drive, and that a new PlayStation console won't accept discs that have been used once. Now, that has been done in the past with the DC Universe game for the PlayStation 3 did have a single time activation code on that. The technology's already there. We've got these codes going out in games now that if you haven't bought the game brand new, you have to, unless you got really lucky, have to download the content from the marketplace, which obviously subsidises the original company for the next user having that game. Now, that's a whole other argument as to whether that's fair or not. But obviously what it does say is it sets a precedent for the next generation of gaming. Now, personally, coming from somebody that works in a store that sells retail products, I can't say from a personal level that I think it's something that we should all be running for the hills for in terror. Recently, we've seen my retailer at least, you see it a lot on the internet already, but in terms of high street stores, putting out better and better prices, particularly if you've pre-ordered a game. Now, the biggest risk to any retailer is ordering stock in that doesn't shift, and the pre-orders kind of circumvent that. So if you can offer, as they're doing at the moment, this is Blockbusters I work for, it's irrelevant really, Lollipop Chainsaw, pre-order price $29.99. Now, that beats anything I've seen online by a good amount, and it's a game I've been very much looking forward to. So I could order it from a website and hope it arrives on time, or I can guarantee a copy in a store on a high street. I can pick up first thing in the morning, have the fun of kind of going into a shop and picking that up, and it actually costs me less than the online price. Now, this is the master stroke, and it's something that can only be achieved with support of distributors, of publishers, of the games in the first place, because you've got to make it financially viable. Excuse me. So, with that in mind, would it not make sense that if games were, say, that price as a maximum, so we say $29.99 as a kind of recommended retail price instead of the kind of average $44.99, straight away the kind of inclination to go for a second-hand copy is massively reduced. You could say, obviously, well, then the second-hand copy would be cheaper than that. But I think then you're just going for the cheapness of price. You're not actually going for the point of wanting the product in the first place and kind of going for a more reasonable option. $29.99 is very, very reasonable for a game that you might want. So, with that in mind, give it some thought. Like I said, this was mentioned on the Gamescast yesterday. So, get in the chat. If you've got any thoughts on what do you think I'm going to say after this short ad break for the Monday Movie Show, jump on the chat on the site and say hello. So I shall see you on the other side of this advert. Alright, yeah.
Do you like films? Then tune in to the Monday Movie Show live on Spreaker.com every Monday at 7:30. Each week, your hosts Stuart and Andy review the latest cinema and home releases, as well as going over the latest movie news and the box office / Blu-ray and DVD top 10. For more information, visit the site www.mondaymovieshow.co.uk or follow us on Twitter at Monday Movie Show. And don't forget to download the podcast on iTunes. Just search for the Monday Movie Show.
So there you go, that's the Monday Movie Show as a weekly little reminder to go and listen to them. So yes, and future of games retail. So obviously I've already discussed the fact that a lower retail price is key for anything going out. But then you've also got the issue of what if it's only digital downloads? Now, I get this a lot when people come into work and they say, oh, you must be worried that if consoles go digital only, it'll put you out of business. But I don't see any reason why that would be the case. When they stopped selling mobile phone top-up cards in supermarkets and replaced them with a system that printed out a receipt with the code on it, kind of live and there and then, it didn't change much for anybody, really. You know, even when they just went to the swipe cards, it was exactly the same thing. There's no reason why you couldn't have, when you buy a console, a swipe card that's registered to your machine. You swipe through a machine, the clerk on the counter puts in a code relevant to whatever game it is you pay. You pay your money, it activates that on your machine virtually, you know. That can happen. You could buy the codes. They're already doing this in Game Station. You can do them on Amazon as well, where you can just buy the code for Xbox Live Arcade content and DLC as well, without having to actually have the payment method saved on your console. So there are already measures in place that actually, if you just use the systems across, you know, there are very, very reasonable ways of saying we could do this cheaper. I mean, if you go into a store, there's a display case, whether it's got a disc in it or not. I mean, I know, personally, I'm the same. I do like a disc. But at the same time, I used to say I liked a cartridge in a big plastic case. But again, you know, you have to kind of go with what the technology is handed to you. You can't sit there and say, well, I'm not going to buy a very decent console just because it's not going to have a disc. But you can, obviously. But you'd be wrong to do that. So if you could go in, still be able to browse a shelf, still be able to talk to somebody about what they think about the product, you know. Hopefully you talk to somebody who knows what they're on about, you know, our store, you will get that. And not a King's Lynn game or Game Station, you won't know, because they've gone downhill rapidly, with the exception of one employee at Game who's thoroughly decent, and I'll take back anything that I've said if she gets upset by it. So yeah, it's just a case of develop the system that works for both the customer and the retailer, as well as the publisher. Now, obviously, if you haven't got to prepare the disc, you haven't got to manufacture the cases, you've not got to ship it around the world and all that, blah, 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 the cost will be dropped down somewhat. It doesn't have to drop down a lot. I think that $29.99 is a thoroughly decent price for any fully fledged retail title. When I had my Mega Drive, and I found a case the other day when I was going through sorting out my collection, I found the case for Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition for the Mega Drive. It was I think it was the 16 meg cartridge for that one, and on the sticker for the price, it was $44.99 from Toys R Us. $44.99, and that was what? So we say what? I say 92, 93, 94. So if we say nearly 20 years ago, and games are now actually cheaper. Now, they should be, in regards to mass production and discs and the media being cheaper, but at the same time, given how we've kind of gone in terms of how much a Mars bar costs compared to how much it was then, it's quite telling that realistically we're not paying that much more or less. Some people say, well, the longevity of titles in the past was better. Well, that's a load of rubbish as well. A lot of the games, due to a lack of a saving mechanism, wouldn't last much more than an hour and a half, but they were hard, so you couldn't really complete them easily in one sitting. But actually, in terms of an 8-hour gameplay, it's not much better. Anyway, on the chat here, we've got Rob Edwards, Eddie, as we like to call him. He's our Burnout King, although I have beaten him on Forza in terms of Raptor ability at the moment, so we'll need to get back on that to steal that title back from me. He said, I've made my view clear on Dalek Sex. We did discuss this previously on the site itself. He said he likes to leave store with a product in hand. Dave Clegg, this is yet another Dave, he said, why add a middleman to a download process? Totally agree, but I think sometimes even now, you could say the same for why have a store for anything, really. You can order your supermarket veg. Sometimes you like to keep it. Sometimes it's nice to have the competition between stores. Sometimes it's good to have the variety. As soon as if you look at what happened with the PlayStation Network store when they launched downloadable games for the PSP Go, they were able to set the price. Now, already, last week, I bought, and I think it was an American site I went to, I can't remember the name of it, but I found it via Savvy Gamer. It was a digital download copy of the Gunstringer, which is Twisted Pixel's full retail title. The download cost me £4.62. Went through, I got emailed a code, put the code in on my console, downloaded the whole game. Now, the whole game on the console costs $19.99. The whole game at the store cost me about £12. And yet, digitally on the Xbox, would have cost me 3 times as much as this website. Now, again, a store could do that kind of offer. It could offer that value and that competition very, very easily. So, yeah, it's. I think, as Dave said, it's right to say, well, you know, if you add somebody in the middle, it does automatically add a cost. That's absolutely true. But at the same time, there's more of a cost, I think, personally, if you take that out. I think if you just go... If you say a website is still a middleman. So if you go straight to the kind of the console itself and just download from there, that would worry me in terms of the kind of prices being stuck. So there you go. That's our discussion on that. I also think the game stores should have more arcade cabinets. I think they should have more gaming pods so we can actually try games. And I think they should have a prerequisite exam for all employees that if they haven't played any games older than 10 years and can't recognise 25 video game characters from their outfits alone, they shouldn't really be employed. There's a lot to be said for employment of people. As I said about the game and the game station nearest me, their employment kind of practice seems to be you get the bloke off the street who can have hands large enough to hold a game case, and that seems to be it. Like I said, there was a very tall guy. I don't think he worked so anymore. He was incredible. He knew everything. He knew every episode of Japanese Sonic animation, and he could talk to you about it for ages. So that's what you need. And there's also a girl there, tattooed up to the hilt. Amazing. She knows her stuff from start to finish. And you need those people. You get those people in game shops, and then games will keep going in there. Because even if you just go in and have a chat about something that's upcoming, I think that's vital. And I think if we lost that just out of fear of kind of a digital future, I think it would be a crying shame. So there you go, and that's the Lolacourse, well, Bouncy Ball's opinion on the future of retail. Obviously, if you want to get involved, do drop in the chat and let your feelings be known. There is also an article on the Lolacourse website where you can drop a comment on there if you disagree with us. So there you go.
We are the Lolacourse. Be with us or be branded a Lolacourse denier.
Yes, be with us or be branded a Lolacourse denier. Now, somebody who is with us and is in the chat tonight, so you'll be able to sort of talk to him about his piece after he's done it. This is Dalek Sex's Voice of Sex. You remember a couple of weeks ago he was in the kitchen with a saucepan. Last week he was in the cupboard understairs with a teacup. This week he's in the pantry with a loaf tin. And I have to say I had the pleasure of playing the game that he's going to be discussing with him the other night, and it was a religious experience. Anyway, I'm going to now play The Voice of Sex Part 4.
We are the Lolacourse, and the voice of sex is entering your passages.
Yeah. Huh. Come on. He's got opinion, a posted suggestion, but never reveals his name. Read by someone, taken as a good one, but nobody knows who wrote it. Few lies with the sentence lie, anonymity annoying me all the time.
This week, I'm going to be telling you about the best game of the year. No, they haven't released Phoenix Wright 5, there's no worries on that score, seeing as how 4 years after its announcement, they still haven't even announced a platform for it. It's not Phoenix Wright versus Professor Layton on the 3DS either, which they're saying won't even have a playable demo in time for E3. And it's not Ace Attorney Investigations 2, which has been out in Japan for over a year. That's never coming to the West, because Capcom hate us and our stupid money. I'm talking about Sniper Elite V2. Now, a lot has been made of Sniper Elite's slow motion X-ray kill cam thing, so let's get that out of the way first and say it really is that good. Once, I shot a guy in the leg, and the game showed the bullet shattering one thigh and splattering both his testicles before exiting via the other thigh. It does bursting eyeballs, it does exploding grenades, and it makes a lovely BONG noise when you shoot someone in the German helmet, so to speak. It's a simple gimmick to hang a whole game on, but Sniper Elite wears it well. What makes the game special, though, is what's going on beneath the surface. Sniper Elite V2 takes elements which are referenced or played within other games, and does them proper like. Take the bullet physics, for example. Modern Warfare has a crack at this, in the mission where you have to observe a flag blowing in the wind, and compensate for the wind blowing your bullet off course. Sniper Elite not only does this, but adds in bullet drop caused by gravity. This system is seamlessly integrated into the game's difficulty levels, which are the best I've seen since Half-Life. Now, Half-Life is not a lazy game. It's not like Halo, which responds to you cranking up the difficulty level by simply cranking up the numbers, turning all the aliens into tanks and making it so that you die in a few hits. Higher difficulty means more intelligent enemies with better teamwork abilities. In the same manner, the higher the difficulty level of Sniper, the more realistic the physics. The easiest level turns them off altogether, meaning you can play it as a Call of Duty style point at things and they die slog, but then you would be a twat who doesn't deserve video games or to live. Another selling point is the game's accuracy system. We've seen this done before in plenty of games. Mass Effect, Enter the Matrix and Max Payne have systems for slowing down time to aid your shootery, and Metal Gear had Snake popping diazepam to steady his grip. In Sniper, this is tied into your ability to regulate your heart rate. Running, sprinting and getting shot at all speed up your heart, and you can only hold your breath to steady your aim if it's low enough. When things get hairy in a normal shooter, the player can sprint for cover, turn around, kicking their superpowers, and perforate everyone. Sniper, on the other hand, is a game of control and finesse, in which being a cheap camping son of a bitch is an evolved discipline, and I love it. Special mention must also go to the tactics issue. You may remember how Metal Gear talked briefly about how a sniper will often kneecap someone and leave them bleeding to death in order to be able to pick their comrades off when they break cover to help their downed colleague. Sniper runs with this, to the point that enemy soldiers will try to carry a wounded brother to safety, allowing you to put a bullet up their bum as they hobble towards cover. Even better is your own ability to lug bodies. In a normal stealth game, received wisdom is that you should kill people silently and hide the bodies. Not so here. In Sniper, the player can leave their kills in the most conspicuous place possible, along with a little tripwire present under the cadaver. Nazi patrol comes around the corner, rushes to help their injured friend, booby trap goes off, player picks them off as they panic. Beautiful. If Sniper Elite has a cherry on top, it's the multiplayer. Co-op Sniper is simply the manliest thing that there has ever been, ever. It's an experience which revolves entirely around grown men high-fiving and patting each other on the back for the spectacularity with which they shot a Nazi in the dick. Bouncy and I spent a game on it, and we accidentally turned every homosexual in a 5-mile radius straight. Graham Norton had popped over to the Holocaust flat, as he does, to have a few Malibu and lemonades and to do It's Raining Men on Dance Dance Revolution, and as we played he suddenly developed a craving for a Havana cigar and a packet of pork scratchings. So there you have it. Simply put, Sniper Elite V2 takes the two things that everyone loves about video games, being a cock-end and shooting Nazis in the dick, and elevates them to an art form. It may be a one-trick pony, but as ponies go, it's a rainbow dash. And that brings us to next week's Voice of Sex, which will feature alcoholism, Metal Gear references, jokes about menstruation, and Q from Star Trek. Yes, I'll be looking back on 2 seasons of the internet juggernaut, which is My Little Pony.
So there you go, that was the Voice of Sex coming in your ears. Or, I know that was Chorley FM, was that I stole that from? That's a Peter Kay joke. Oh, well, anyway, that's the Voice of Sex dribbling into your ears like a venereal diseased penis hanging off the end of a diseased drunken tramp. So there you go. In regards to Sniper Elite, the multiplayer is phenomenal. It's purely co-op. In the truest sense of the word. The only negative I can come up with is don't play it with somebody who's really, really drunk, because when you're trying to pick off 2 people at the same time with simultaneous shots and they're seeing more than 2 people, there's a slight disadvantage. But we did also find out, that wasn't mentioned, you can throw stones at dead bodies. You can do that. And you can take out tanks with a single bullet, which is really, if you want to feel like a man, I swear to God, even let's say a very girly girl, every member of the Kardashian family would grow a dick if they played Sniper Elite for more than 5 minutes. You heard it here at the Holocaust. So it's now time to play the last advert of the show. This is for the Gamescast people. This is just, obviously, their gaming show, which is now moving to a Friday night, so if it says Tuesday, ignore that.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you some important news from the world of live chat shows, what to talk about video games.
Chat show? Isn't it more of a podcast? It's not Jonathan Ross.
You may not realise it, but you have missed the most awesome source show, what talks about video games.
Seriously, is awesome source even a word?
Every Tuesday night at 9 PM, the Gamescast presents its unique blend of news and rants live via Spreaker.com, packed into 45 minutes of goodness.
This is starting to sound like a coffee advert.
We now return you to the Holocaust, because we mad too.
So yes, there you go. That's the Gamescast. Do listen to those, not this Friday, but the Friday after. I do have a report that Dalek Sex is going to be guesting on there at some point soon, so do look out for that as well, because obviously everything he does is golden as long as he's in a room with a kitchen implement. So there we go. Right. So yes, Sniper Elite, very, very good. Something else that I just found out about today, so I haven't really had a chance to plan this in. Anybody that follows the site will know I really, really enjoyed the first Lost Planet game. But the second game almost killed me with its ineptitude and its kind of dedication to the co-op way of things, but not in the right way of co-op. It was kind of arcadey competitive co-op, and turned the whole game into what could have been a very good story-driven kind of shooting title on a planet inhabited by giant ice creatures. It's just something that drove me within an inch of insanity and caused me to, for the first time, I think ever, trade it back in within 24 hours. But with that said, they did announce Lost Planet 3 recently that looks like it's taken an interesting new step. But there's also a spin-off coming out for, I'm assuming, the 3DS. It's it's called EX Troopers. It's coming out from Capcom, and it's a kind of an anime-styled game in the universe from the Lost Planet games in a military academy. So details on that are very sketchy, but consider my eye squarely on that. I hope it does come out of here. As Dalek said earlier, Capcom aren't too keen on getting the great games over, and obviously depending on how much kind of vocal work they put in there could be a problem. But yeah, it's very much on my radar, so to speak. So, with that in mind, let's kind of head off. We've got about 4 minutes left of the show, and I know I've got a song to play. It's 3 minutes, so for the last minute, I'm going to have to pack this in. We're not going to have time for Peter Guffwhilley, who's our resident news guy. He had a couple of news stories to read out, but we're not going to have time for him this week. We'll save those till next week. Again, keep popping by the website. If you do get us on iTunes, please do leave us a review. We've got a couple of reviews already from some very great people. Hoping in the next couple of weeks to meet up with the guys from the Mature Gamer podcast. Do go and have a listen to those as well. Going to meet up with Kev and Steve for a drink and a chat. Something exciting could come out of that. And I've also had reports that Dalek and Dr. Hamhock may well be visiting me in the real Holocaust flat, not the kind of the pseudo Holocaust flat that we live in, the actual real one, for discussions about some very exciting things to come up, including an Olympic special. But look out for that. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with this. This is this guy Noah, who's done a cover of Sexy and I Know It by LMFAO. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Walk on by, girls be looking like, oh, he's fly. I pimp to the beat, walking on the street, and my new love freak, yeah. This is how I roll, animal print skin out of control. It's a red food with a big afro, and just like Bruce Lee, I got the glow. Oh, girl, look at that body. Oh, girl, look at that body. Oh, girl, look at that body. I work out when I walk on the spot.
Now, while you listen to this, what I want you to do is I want you to picture Roland from old school 80s Grange Hill. Just basically a fat bloke with glasses. That's who's saying it. So that's keep that image in your brain.
I'm sexy and I know it. Yeah, I'm sexy.
Or Tank from the Walker's Crisps adverts.
I'm sexy and I know it. I'm sexy and I know it. When I'm at the mall, security just can't fight them off. And when I'm at the beach, I'm in a Speedo trying to tan my cheeks, yeah. This is how I roll. Come on, ladies, it's time to go. We're headed to the bar, baby, don't be nervous. No shoes, no shirt, I still get service. Oh, girl, look at that body. Oh, girl, look at that body. Oh, girl, look at that body. I work out when I walk on the spot. This is what I see.
Oh, right. I've just been reminded. I forgot to draw the winner for the Back to the Future competition. And I will do that, and I'll announce it on Twitter after the show. All right, so apologies if you were waiting for that. If you want to get a chance to get in there now, obviously go and listen to the last 5 minutes. You've got until 10 o'clock. We'll do it then. Anyway, back to that song. All right, cheers.
Yeah, I'm sexy and I know it. So wiggle, 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 yeah. Oh, wiggle, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah. Wiggle, 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 yeah. Oh, wiggle, 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 yeah. I'm sexy and I know it. I'm sexy and I'm sexy and I know it. I'm sexy and I know it. I'm sexy and